Isn't that just like him to step aside and allow someone else to talk to you graduates who I have grown to love since you were in the 8th grade? Students, if you want to see an instruction manual for how to be a leader, that instruction manual is sitting right there. Right there. Now, it's customary for commencement speakers to wish you a life of success and happiness. And that's what I want so much for you guys. Happiness and success. But how do you get that? How do you achieve happiness and success? I figure since I'm going to be 60 next year, it's time I can start giving a little bit of advice, so bear with me. The secret to happiness and success is actually pretty simple. 2 steps. Number 1, in terms of a calling in life, find out what you love doing. And number 2, be a giver. I'm not talking about success the way Wall Street defines it. I'm talking about authentic success. If you look around, authentically successful people are people who love the work they do, and they love others, and they're loved by others. I've noticed there are basically 2 kinds of people in the world: givers and takers. And I've noticed that generally, the givers seem to be happier. They seem to laugh more and live longer, generally. So be a giver. But don't take my word for it. I'm only one person. I've only observed a few people in my lifetime. My sample size is pretty small. So I'm going to appeal to some brain research briefly done by some scientists and a few people who are wiser than I am. If you want to achieve success and happiness in life, you've got to be thinking counterintuitively. Think opposite. Think backwards. Upside down. Not the usual way of thinking. The world's message, as I mentioned, is that if you want to be successful, what you need to do is try to make lots and lots of money so you can buy lots of stuff, so you can spend your life taking care of your stuff. And then you will have achieved success. Now we need to be practical. You need to make a living. You have to make a living. But maybe Forrest Gump was right when he quoted his mama. He said, "There's only so much fortune a man needs, and the rest is just for showing off." Mama was always a smart lady. Okay? I think there's a lot of wisdom in that. But again, think upside down, think counterintuitive, think backwards. Maybe the truly successful person is the one who gives and improves the lives of those around him or her. Maybe the successful person who is the person who lives a life poured out. Maybe the successful person is the one who leaves a small part of his or her world a little bit better than he or she found it. You see, I'm speaking about giving. In other words, I'm talking about a very simple concept: love. Simple little 4-letter word, but it's the most powerful force in the universe. I'm not talking about warm, fuzzy, emotional love. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about genuine, decisional, put that other person first kind of love. The Greeks had a word for that. Agape, H-E-A-P-E. You can Google it, graduates, later. Wait a minute, you probably have your phone out. Google it now if you want to. It's okay. Agape love. I'm going to get back to that in a minute. Raise your hand if you sent Geraldine Talley a birthday card yesterday. What? Geraldine Talley is the oldest person in the United States. She turned 115 yesterday. You know what? A person from the press asked her, "How do you feel today on your 115th birthday?" And she laughed and did a little dance. 115. Somebody asked her, "What's your secret for long life and happiness?" And you know what she said? "Treat others the way you would like to be treated." That's what she said. C.S. Lewis, in his book, The Four Loves, described agape love as the highest form of love. This kind of love isn't always emotional, but it's always decisional. Now, I saw this kind of love not long ago. An 85-year-old man, a friend of mine, took care of his wife with Alzheimer's disease right up until the very end. Fed her, bathed her, took care of her. She didn't even know who he was. Thought he was just some nice guy working in a hospital. That's agape love. I read a book recently about U.S. Marines fighting in the Pacific in World War II. I read about some acts of bravery that I thought just happened in the movies. But no, several times, documented cases, a Marine would throw himself on a live hand grenade in the heat of battle to save the lives of his buddy. That's agape love hardcore. I saw once agape love in a single mother who raised her small children all by herself, and she worked 2 jobs to support them. She was exhausted all the time, but then when her kids grew up, they became successful. They rose up and called her blessed. That woman is a success in life. Interesting what giving does. I have a friend who is a little girl who's 9 years old. She is so severely mentally challenged. She has a vocabulary of about 3 words. She learned to walk when she was 7. The other day she walked up to me. It was a real struggle for her to do it. And she had in her fist, clenched in her fist, something. She wanted to give me something. I looked up at her mama, and her mama smiled and said she wants to give you a present. The little girl struggled to open up her clenched fist, held it over my hand, and when she opened up, she had given me a small wadded up piece of a candy wrapper. In her mind, it was a gift. I thanked her, big smile beaming across her face. Something profound happens inside the brain when we give, even in the brain of a mentally challenged child. Now you might be thinking, oh, this is just Mr. Rhul talking. And how long is he going to talk? Not very long. I'm going to keep moving here. This is just Mr. Rhul. So I want to share just a few brief findings from people of science, and then I'll share just a few quotes from people who are wiser than I am. And maybe you can take these with you if you want. In National Institutes of Health study, researchers found out that when people give to charities, it activates regions of the brain associated with pleasure, social connection, trust, and it creates that warm glow effect. Also, scientists believe that unselfish behavior releases endorphins, chemicals in the brain that give that positive feeling known as the helper's high. Lots of research to support this. We're learning more and more through science. Our species is made to love and serve. It appears that our brains are wired for it. Now, again, you might not want to listen to me. I'm just Joe Rhul, who teaches science here at Jeff High School, who loves you guys. Genuinely. Do I like you all the time? Have I loved you all the time? You bet. Remember, the word is agape. So, listen to this ancient Chinese proverb. If you want happiness for an hour, take a nap. If you want happiness for a day, go fishing. And I would add, that's what I'm talking about. If you want happiness for a month, get married. That's what it says. I would add longer than a month, hopefully. If you want happiness for a year, inherit a fortune. If you want happiness for a lifetime, help someone. That's an ancient Chinese proverb. Now it's interesting, in more modern times, a famous psychiatrist named Carl Menninger said that the best cure when you're sad and you're down inside yourself, best cure for that is to reach out and help somebody else. Now don't listen to me, listen to Winston Churchill. He said, we make a living by what we get. We make a life by what we give. Don't listen to me. Listen to Jackie Robinson, one of my absolute heroes, number 42. A life is not important except in the impact it has on other lives. Don't listen to me. Listen to Forrest Gump. I'm not a smart man, but I know what love is. How about George Washington Carver? He is a man to be trusted. How far you go in life depends on you being tender with the young, compassionate with the aged, sympathetic with the striving, and tolerant of the weak and strong, because someday in life you will have been all of these. Well done. These people are worthy of our applause. Don't listen to me. Listen to Solomon. He was a king a long time ago. One person freely gives, yet gains more. Another withholds unduly, but comes to poverty. And don't listen to me, listen to a first-century rabbi named Jesus. It is more blessed to give than to receive. Now, you know what? Sometimes in life, y'all, you might be afraid. You might be afraid that if you give too much of yourself, that maybe you won't have enough left for yourself. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. Fear is the path to the dark side. Fear leads to anger. Anger leads to hate. Hate leads to suffering. you do well in that area. Or your investments, it's not going to be about that. But rather, are you going to leave the world a little bit better than you found it? Are you going to be a blessing to the people around you? I encourage you, you want to be happy and successful? Find the work in life you enjoy and be a giver. Realize there are takers in this world, so be as wise as serpent and as gentle as doves. And finally, last word, don't just have a good life, make it a good life. God bless.